Coming into Sunday night's game, the Patriots were 8-0. It seemed like nobody could beat them, and people were legitimately thinking they can go undefeated on the whole season. The Pats defense had some ridiculous numbers heading into that game. They allowed one touchdown pass through the first 8 games of the season. They led the league in interceptions, and they just looked like the best defense in football. Maybe you can say the 49ers, but definitely top two in the league. So prior to Week 9, the Patriots have played in 2 competitive games, well, somewhat competitive games. One was the Bills, where they only won by 6 points, and one was the Cleveland Browns, believe it or not. They won that game by 2 touchdowns. But they had games against, like, Luke Falk, and they had games against, it was Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins at that time. They had one against the Redskins with Case Keenum. They had one against the rookie quarterback Daniel Jones in Week 6. They played Sam Darnold in Week 7. Baker Mayfield and the Browns in Week 8, which I guess was somewhat competitive, as I mentioned before. So it was obviously a pretty easy start for the Patriots and their schedule. It does get a bit harder down the stretch. They play the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chiefs. Definitely some tough games on the schedule for the next 4 or 5 weeks for this team. So now let's get into some of the areas like where the Patriots are beatable. So I think to beat this team, it comes down to number 1, running the ball efficiently and effectively. So obviously, in these games where they've been competitive, or teams against the Patriots have been competitive, running backs against them have put up over 100 yards. They had very good yards per carry, and you just have to run the ball efficiently to beat this team. That's very important to it. Number 2 is do not turn the ball over against them. If you lose the turnover battle, it's very hard to beat this team. So make sure you take care of the ball on offense. Number 3, you're able to play man-to-man coverage without getting beat by their receivers. So, of course, when you're facing Tom Brady, you have to blitz him. That's number 4 I have actually. Can you blitz Brady and get him rattled? That's a big thing. If you can send your blitz and you can send 5-6 guys and you can still cover in your secondary, it's definitely a big thing to beat this Patriots team. So you need some really good cover corners and maybe even a safety in there who can cover as well. And number 5 is, can you stop this Patriots running game? So their running game hasn't been fantastic this year by any means. Sony Michel has been pretty underwhelming for the most part. Rex Burkhead, when he's in there, he has missed some games, but when he's in there, he's been all right, but nothing great. James White's their best running back, but he's more of a receiver. So can you stop their running game? That's another part of beating this Patriots team. So it's not easy to beat this team, and it's not, definitely a task that's going to be completed by every team, but it is possible to beat this team. And here's some examples of what teams did to beat the Patriots, or even come close to beating them, with the Bills matchup, the Browns matchup, and of course the Ravens matchup from Sunday Night Football. So in Week 4 versus the Bills, the Pats only won by 6 points. The running game for Buffalo was working very well with Frank Gore. He had 109 yards on 17 carries. Buffalo's offensive line, who has been really good this year, they were great in this game as well. So with the effective run game and the good offensive line, they were able to move the ball on offense. And when it came to their defense, Brady had the worst game of the season against the Bills. Probably his worst game of the season, honestly. The Bills have a really good secondary, and the Patriots' leading receiver in that game, of course, was the running back, James White, who only had 57 yards. The problem for the Bills was that they turned the ball over 4 times, and obviously you're not going to beat the Patriots when you turn the ball over that many times. But the Bills had a good showing. The Patriots knocked out Josh Allen in the 3rd quarter, I believe, so they got to face Matt Barkley for a quarter and a half. That definitely helped, and maybe that was the reason they won this game. But they turned over Tom Brady on the goal line. That was definitely huge for their defense. They ran the ball effectively. The turnovers is what killed them. If they did not turn the ball over 4 times, the Bills might have won that game. So there's an example right there of how the Patriots could have lost the game. In Week 8 versus the Browns, the final score did not look so pretty, but the Browns were definitely killing the Patriots on the ground. So the problem once again was turnovers in this game, but the Browns running back Nick Chubb, who did lose 2 fumbles in this game, he ran all over them. He had 131 rushing yards on 20 carries. So the Browns did lose their turnover battle by 3. It was 3-0. Baker Mayfield had a rough interception in that game, and of course the 2 fumbles by Nick Chubb. But outside of that, they were able to move the ball pretty effectively for the most part, and they were scoring on this defense, but of course the problem was the turnovers. So the Browns were able to sack Brady 3 times, and they held the Pats to 5 for 16 on 3rd down conversions. So once again, the Browns were in that game. If they did not turn the ball over so many times, maybe they win that game. Maybe that's a close game. The Browns obviously are not a good team. They're definitely one of the more competent offenses that the Patriots have played this year, which is pretty sad, honestly, but still. That's a game right there the Browns could have won, and the Patriots, give them credit for, of course, forcing the turnovers and stuff like that, but it was a game that the Browns looked pretty good on offense, to be honest with you. Week 9, of course, was the Ravens game, and they were destroyed via the ground attack. So the Ravens ran for 210 total yards. They controlled the ball for 37 minutes as well, and it wasn't even perfect. They fumbled the ball twice. There was one on a punt return. There was one by Mark Ingram in the Ravens territory, so that was not a good play by him, obviously. The turnover battle was even, so it didn't hurt the Ravens too much, and of course they had a huge defensive touchdown on the Edelman fumble brought back by Marlon Humphrey, who's had a great year for the Ravens. But the Ravens' offense was the big story in this game, obviously. So, of course, not every team has a Lamar Jackson, at their disposal. That'd be nice, obviously. But the Ravens, or even the Bills and the Browns, they basically laid out the blueprint for how to beat this Patriots team. I mean, don't try to throw for 400-plus yards against them. That's probably not going to work. Just run the ball effectively and trust your offensive line. The Pats are probably still the Super Bowl favorites in my opinion, but it's not like they're unbeatable like people were saying just last week. I thought that was a little crazy in my opinion. If you watched my channel last week, I made the picks for the week, and I picked the Ravens to win this game. Actually, I thought this would be too much for the Patriots to handle. I like the Ravens because they came off the bye week. They had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. The Patriots never played anybody like Lamar Jackson, so I like their chances. I didn't think they win the game that easily, but still, they won the game anyway. So I think there are some teams in the NFL that are set up to beat this Patriots team. You look at teams like the Ravens, of course, you have the Saints, the 49ers, or even the Seahawks. They're good examples of teams that can handle them because they have good running attacks. The 49ers, of course, they love to run the ball. Same with the Seahawks. The one thing about the Seahawks, though, their defense is definitely concerning, so I don't know if they can stop the Patriots' offense. But the 49ers have a great defense. So do the Saints. They have a great running attack as well. And, of course, we know the Ravens. So there are teams out there that can handle this Patriots team, and I still think they are the Super Bowl favorite, but at the same time, they're not unbeatable, so don't think that. So we'll see how the Pats perform in the coming weeks. They do play some harder teams, as I mentioned before, so I guess we'll see how these, how those games go, and we'll see how legit the Patriots actually are.